Hey guys, Tinker Taylor here today, bringing you another Pokemon. No, this is not Pokemon. This is A to Z Build Challenge. Um, so if you don't know about this challenge, it is a little challenge that I started up a couple years ago. This is my third year doing it. So in February, I do 26 builds that are the 26 letters of the English alphabet, and since it's day 5, we are up to E, and so we are doing an excavation site. And let me tell you, I had so many problems with this build. Mostly because it's a build where I tried not to use as much building, if that makes any sense. Yes, there's a lot of decor and stuff like that, but I tried not to use as much like building. I wanted it to feel a bit more uncovered and I don't know, just like something fun like that, where it was basically like I don't know how to explain it, but other than a build out in the open, I guess. So for the first, I don't know how long, but the first little while you will see me kind of struggling just a little bit with trying to figure out how to set it up. And I'd already done a bunch of thinking beforehand on how to do it, of like what I was going to make it look like and how I was going to set it up. And I had some very, very loose inspiration for this build. So one of the first people, not the very first person, but one of the first people I started watching who was a Sims builder with CC specifically, was Honeybella. And I believe they're actually a couple. One goes by the name Honey, one goes by Bella, but I'm not 100% certain on that. Look, it has been a few months since I've watched them, but it's also been a little while since they've put out videos, so I don't know if they're on a break, like from video making, or if they just don't make videos anymore, which would make me a little bit sad because they were really, really good buildings that I would see. So the one by Honey Bella is sort of like a hunting lodge, and I believe Honey Bella is a South African channel, um, from memory, I believe. So it's very, very beautiful build with some beautiful CC, and I think that, Honey Bella and Bohana Sims and who else? Andretti 3000, I believe. Those are the main three who I was like, okay, you guys use CC, I'm starting to watch your videos, and oh, okay, this is actually kind of really cool, and maybe I do want to build a CC. So they're the kind of inspiration for me using CC. But the other inspiration for this build in particular is Celiodon. If you guys have been around any of my videos before, you might have heard me talking about them. Fantastic, amazing builder, and they did a temple slash excavation site, and it was just absolutely phenomenal. No CC in it from memory, and yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Made the game work in a way that I've just never seen people do before. It was absolutely amazing. And I guess that inspo is also kind of the pyramid that I did a week ago. I don't know how time works anymore. But the pyramid I did a little while ago, that is the sort of also the inspiration, part of the inspiration for that build. So yeah, I definitely do take a lot of inspiration from fellow builders around. I love seeing what other people do and going, okay, that's actually a really cool idea. I've never seen that before. Like, I've seen someone, I cannot remember for the life of me, it might have been that one green leaf. I'm not 100% positive, but I have a feeling it was doing a sand castle. So it was a castle, but it was made to look like it was a sand castle, and it was super detailed and super beautiful, and I'm so mad at how beautiful it is. I cannot get over how amazing some people's building skills are. And I don't think I'm going to attempt that anytime soon, but one day. That's a future me one. And I'm pretty sure that's also a no CC build, which is just absolutely insane. And it might have even been for a collab. I'm not too sure. I think I ended up downloading the build just so I could explore it because it was so beautiful. But yeah, I do love to take subtle inspiration from others. I don't like taking major inspiration from others. Like, again, with the pyramid, I wasn't sure how to do the layout, not the layout, like the roofing to make it look like a pyramid, so I did download Selena's build to see how the roofing was done, but from there I kind of tried to do my own things, and I feel like we did some different things. There's definitely some things that, like, maybe, yes, we used similar items, but maybe not necessarily, yeah, like, not the same layout or anything like that, and I probably did have some unconscious bias, not bias, but, like, I unconsciously used similar ideas and concepts, and I'm fully willing to accept and acknowledge that, and that's why I want to, like, put out there that this is where all my inspiration came from. If you like anything I've done, that's where the inspiration came from. So definitely go check out those builders because they definitely deserve the, I can't think of the word, like the credit, that's the word I'm thinking of. They deserve the credit for the inspiration that I got in particular for this build. And also, I didn't expect this build to be so long. It has been a while. So I did this build in November last year. And I forgot how long it took me. I forgot how long I was just scrolling through and picking out items that I thought would fit. And also, it's probably not all that entirely accurate to what a proper dig site looks like. But fun fact for you guys, I've never been an archaeologist. I've never been to an archaeological dig site. I've never, like, I've seen it in documentaries and on TV shows and movies and stuff like that. And while, yes, like, the documentaries are probably definitely real life and somewhat accurate to what it looks like, I've never been there personally, so I don't know what it's actually like. I also don't know the accuracy of movies and TV shows towards dig sites, but I still had a lot of fun with it. I tried to think about ideas and concepts that would make sense. So the, I don't know, like the dig site, I wanted it to feel like there were some people who were maybe working on computers, not necessarily like tech guru people, but people who were maybe conference calling with the people who are running the dig site who aren't there, or who are uploading and recording videos and stuff like that, and photos, or consulting with experts around the world. So I wanted to have a little section like that, and then I wanted to have a little section where maybe something that had been unburied had been taken over to this little, like, I don't know, like this little study spot area where they can very carefully look at all of the items and whatnot, and make sure that it's like authenticate, like, I guess like an authentication spot, so they can authenticate certain items, and they can again take photos and maybe restore it a little bit. I'm not too sure about restoration and how that all works. But I have seen a few documentaries on, there was a documentary on I believe a British man, or a man in England, who would go to Egypt and smuggle stuff back home, and the way he did it, from my understanding, he would get real archaeological finds and then cover it in something that wouldn't damage it, so that when he got to customs and they would like scratch at it to see if it's authentic or not, I don't know how that's checking if it's authentic, but they would do something to kind of like mark it or tarnish it or whatever, because he'd covered it in something, it wouldn't actually damage the actual item, and so he could still take it home. And I don't know, it was kind of interesting to watch, but I also think there was like other crimes involved with this person, not just smuggling and thievery. So I don't know, it was a while back that I watched that. I watch a lot of documentaries. Apologies if you just had my stomach gurgle. I don't know why it's done that. I had breakfast and I had my tea and it shouldn't be gurgling. I mean, it is kind of lunchtime, but it doesn't normally gurgle, so I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I was saying I do watch a lot of documentaries about a lot of different things. I don't know, I just find the world fascinating and I love to learn more about the world around me, and the whole world isn't around me, so even the world that isn't around me, I do like to learn about other cultures and history and even just like stuff like conspiracies about silly little things. Like I watched a documentary on glitter, like there was that whole like who's the top buyer of glitter, and there's all these conspiracy theories and whatnot about it, and there was someone who actually documented it and talked to one of the former owners of a glitter company, or like it was like the brother of someone who owns the company who used to work at the glitter company but doesn't anymore. And it's just stuff like that I find so fascinating. In my day-to-day real life, am I going to, like, does it matter to me who's the most, like, who's the top purchaser of glitter? No, not really. I don't think it really matters to me personally, but I love to know these random little things like that. Like, it's such a random thing, like glitter, okay. Why is this such a big conspiracy? This is interesting and fascinating. And there are some serious documentaries out there to watch too that are very heartbreaking and eye-opening. And it kind of also reminds me that the world is not necessarily how I perceive it. The world I live in is not necessarily the world that everybody else lives in. And so I do like to try and keep my, I guess, eyes open. That's the best way I can put it, is keep my eyes open and just watch things that are relevant to the world. But I also like to watch some other stuff as well, not just documentaries. Like, I obviously like to watch Sims related stuff. In fact, Sims videos is what got me into making my own videos. So, big shout out to James Turner there. But also like Deligracy and Little Simsy. Those were the first 3 Sims creators that I ever got into. And because I really struggled as a kid and a teenager to watch anything new, I would basically just watch those 3. That's pretty much all I'd watch. But now, as an adult, I have been watching more and more people and hanging out with people in streams and watching their builds over there. And it's honestly, I'm so mad at myself for not having watched these people earlier. Fantastic, phenomenal builders who I just could have learnt so much more from so much earlier if I had have been okay with new things and uncertainty. But, evidently back then I wasn't really ready for that. I know it sounds silly, like, oh, you weren't ready to watch a new person? That sounds silly, but it is something that I did genuinely struggle with. And, if you struggle with it too, I recognize you and I hear you, and I feel that, because I have been in the past as well. But I would just like to say that I am up to season 11 in Criminal Minds, which is something, like, I don't get to season 11 in anything. That's, like, I'll watch something for a while, and then I'll give up, and I'll go back to watching something completely different. Like, I'll watch the start of something completely different, and then I'll be like, actually, I kind of want to watch that show again, but then I'll forget what it was about, so I'll go back to the start again and watch it all over again. So, the fact that I've made it to season 11 is pretty shocking, pretty surprising to me. So I'm going to definitely go back and find some of the shows that I really did enjoy and see if I can watch them from the start again. Not from the start again. Watch them all the way through. There's a few shows that I really do want to watch again, and make it all the way through to the end, but first I'm going to get through Criminal Minds. Gonna make it through. I'm gonna get to the end. There is some parts of me that the reason why I stopped watching shows is because I can see the formula. Like, I'm like, okay, this is what happens next, and it's just very predictable. But I guess because it's been a little while since I've watched it, but not long enough that I've forgotten what's happened, that that formula doesn't feel like it's there anymore. So I guess taking breaks is definitely a good thing, and not just binge watching, which is something sometimes I do. But I've also found that breaking it up with watching other things is also very good. So, you know, like watching, I've been really into watching, what do you call it? Like drain clearing videos. It sounds really silly, but people going out when it's like severe weather, and there are drains and all that sort of stuff clogged, or beavers who've built dams and they're unclogging those. And I don't know, I just, because a lot of them, yeah, they'll talk at the start and be like, okay, here's the issue and here's what we're doing, but then they'll just put on either music, or you can just listen to the water, and it's so calming and relaxing just to listen to that in the background while I do other stuff. You know, this morning while I was doing some editing for the short of this video, I was watching somebody unclog a dam that some beavers had made in a farmer's field, and it took them like 5 minutes to pull it apart, but the way they had pulled it apart was so smart, because like the way they did it, the dam collapsed in on itself, and you could see instantly the water just drop massively. It was absolutely amazing. And then there was a photo from like a couple of days later where you could see like half of the field had completely drained, and you could actually see the patch of where the water used to be but no longer was, and then you could see where the water still was in the other part of the field. But it was just really, really fascinating to watch that exist, like watch people do that. I've also seen people clearing out like drains in the side of roads and things like that, or in car parks, or yeah, mostly at some sort of road place. And again, watching the water drop down, I've seen them doing it in like underneath roads. Some roads have pipes underneath them so that the water can go through without going over the road. And I don't know, that's just, it's really, really fascinating to watch. And I know that those sorts of things can change the environment, but the fact that the beavers built the dams to begin with also changes the environment. So I'm not too sure. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about changing the environment like that. It can be beneficial, but also can be damaging. I know for like people, it can stop their houses and stuff from being flooded, but also like the animals can change. Like I saw a video, or not a video, like a news story about a beaver, or a group of beavers, a colony of beavers, who'd built a dam, but by doing that they'd actually restored the area. Like it was not doing too well, but because they had because they had built this dam, it kept the water in that area, and it rejuvenated the whole area and like restored that ecosystem. So, you know, sometimes those dams are good, but other times I guess not so much. So I don't know. I as much as it is pleasing to watch those videos, I do also worry about that aspect of things. But I guess if the people who live in that area, who run that area, like the eco management people, if they didn't want that to happen, maybe they would like either A, relocate the beavers, or B, like encourage it, depending on what they needed. But I'm not a beaver expert, I'm not an ecological expert, I'm just someone who worries about the environment a little bit too much, I feel. But at the end of the day, I'm okay with that, because, you know, we only really have one planet, and, you know, maybe in the future, maybe, I'm not going to say 100% yes or 100% no, but maybe we have the capabilities of living on a different planet, but we don't right now, and this is the only one we've got. And so, you know, I don't like the idea of destroying this planet, because maybe one day we'll be able to have another. So yeah, definitely I try and make decisions that don't damage or are detrimental to the environment. I only said to The Sims. That's not what I meant to say. I meant to say to the environment. But actually, speaking of The Sims, it's currently the Sims 25th anniversary stream going on right now, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I just want to know what the announcements are. Don't get me wrong, like, watching people play and build is absolutely, like, I love doing that anyway. As you heard me before, like, I watch people play, that's normal. But I want to know what the announcements are, and I don't know when they're going to announce them, or if I'm going to be awake or asleep for them or not. I feel like I don't actually know if there are actually going to be any announcements, but I feel like this is a great time to announce things. It's the 25th anniversary. There's 25 hours of stream where you could definitely say something, and I'm kind of worried about missing it, but I'm also, like, people will announce, like, I'll see it on social media if I do miss it. So at the end of the day, I'm not too worried about missing out, but I do actually want to see it live, because I want to have that live sort of reaction to it. And I don't know, it's just something that I think is definitely, I just don't want to miss out on it. A little bit of FOMO there, but I also don't have 25 hours to sit there and watch the whole thing. Like right now, I think Doja Cat is playing. I just had a little sneak peek, and then from what it looks like, Doja Cat is playing with, I think, 12 Belagoths, maybe 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, maybe 8. And I don't know. I just want to know what's the new exciting fun stuff. I mean, I know we have the new stuff that came out, like the what do you call it? The 70 plus new items that we got. I don't know if the 70 plus includes all the swatches, but we got a new kitchen set, so islands, cabinets, and upper cabinets. We got a new fireplace, I think a new column, new wallpaper, new flooring, a new pirate ship, and what else? I feel like there was something else that I'm missing. Oh, new windows and doors. How could I forget the windows and doors? I was so excited for that. When they put out that little 7-minute announcement stream thing, I didn't watch it because I didn't want to get up. I think it was early, and I didn't want to get up early to watch it, and I was like, I'll watch it later. And then I ended up in a Discord call with a few people, and we were just hanging out and chatting, and I was like, oh, you know what, I'll watch it now, because it is short. You guys told me short, fantastic, okay, cool, I'll watch it. And it ended up being, very, very short, but I was typing my reactions, because I muted myself, and I was typing my reactions into the chat, and it was, just such an amazing thing to kind of sit and see and be like, oh my god, there's so many cool things in there, like, I can't believe that. Like, the new windows and doors, I was so excited for that. And the kit by Pierre Sim, which I still haven't gotten yet. I really do want it. I just haven't got it yet. And I was like, oh, hey, it's Simsy. But then I saw other people, and I was like, wait, oh my god, these people are here. What? Are you kidding me? That's so exciting. So yeah, I was definitely hyped about that. And I don't know, I love getting excited about this game. I know some people they have been let down one too many times and feel like not so happy about these things, but I am someone who, I've said this before, I'm a builder. I'm very lucky that my side of the game is very well taken care of, and so I have not been let down, I feel, and I also feel that even if people have made mistakes in the past, that, we can definitely get better, we can see improvement and whatnot. So yeah, definitely very keen and excited for everything that's happening in the future. I think there's going to be something happening in 2 days that's going to be announced, based on the I can't remember, like, the announcement they had a while back where it was like, we're going to have stuff on this date and this date, and here's the 25th anniversary stream, and then there was 2 more dates after this, and I think it was the 6th and the 16th. So in 2 days we should have something. And again, it's the 6th and the 16th in the US. So for me, it's the 7th and the 17th, I believe. But still, not the point. The point is, it's very exciting to kind of, yeah, like there's going to be announcements soon, and I just want to get in and know what they are. I've been trying to avoid spoilers. I've seen some people put out like, oh, this is what the new kit's leaked to be, but then like a few days later they've come back with a completely different leak, and I don't know if that means that there's going to be several leaks, like, oh, not several leaks, but several things being released, or if they just, like, there's been a bunch of things that have been leaked that aren't actually real, they're just made up. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not committed. I don't want to pay attention to them because I want to be surprised. But unfortunately I did kind of see those spoilers, which I understand some people want to know the leaks straight away, but I don't know. I used to be like that, wanting to see all the leaks and being super excited, but then I'd be so impatient waiting to see the official announcement to verify and make sure, and I was not necessarily panicked, but I was like, I just want to know, and I don't, and it's driving me up the wall. So I think I'm gonna go towards no leaks, no spoilers, and just being patient and seeing what happens and what is released. So yeah, definitely something that I want to try and avoid. So, you know, if you're someone who loves to share spoilers, that's not me. I as much as I want to know these things in advance, I also want to not know these things. So yeah, I don't know, it's kind of difficult in the air as to what I want to do, but I'm definitely leaning more into not spoiling. You know, if you like spoilers, definitely go ahead, look for them, go wild. It's just, yeah, I feel like I'm leaning more into not having them, and I don't know, the speculation kind of kills me, because I'm like, well, I want to know, but I don't know, and I hate not knowing. So if I just don't even know that there are, I mean, I'm gonna know that there are spoilers to be had, but if I just don't even know that there's something there, if I don't know that there's a spoiler, if I'm like, oh cool, the spoiler, no idea, not a clue, then I'm not gonna be sitting there frustrated. But anyway, that's whatever. But I probably should actually talk about this build, because I have been rambling for a little bit. I actually wrote down a little list of things to try and talk about, because I knew this video was a little bit longer than my usuals. I mean, at this point, I would kind of be heading towards wrapping up the video, but because I've been doing big builds in the past, that's not happening. And the next one that I've edited... Okay, so I know I said I was going to talk about the build. We'll get there. We will work our way there once I figure out how to speak English. Yeah, so I've started to edit the next video, and I just did really rough cuts because I wanted to see how much footage I already had. And initially I was like, oh, well, that's going to be under an hour, like easy, without even having edited anything, cutting anything out, easily under an hour. But because I've changed editing software, my editing is slightly different, and it used to be I would speed up everything 500%, so basically 5 times faster, but in DaVinci the options are 100, 200, 300, 400, 800. Might be 1,000 after that, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's I can only pick 4 or 800, and I think when I started out at the very beginning, I think I was at 800, maybe 700, I'm not sure, 700%, but yeah, I ended up moving it down eventually. Like, if you go back and watch my earliest videos, I'm pretty sure I would give all of us motion sickness, and yeah, so I slowly started moving it down, and now, yeah, we're at 400%, which I'm not too mad at. Like, 400% seems pretty alright. It's still very fast. It might still give some people motion sickness, unfortunately, but that's half the speed of what I started at, and it still feels so fast. So now instead of being every hour equals 12 minutes, it's every hour equals 15 minutes. And you know what? That's still okay. I think I've gotten without without cuts and just rough cutting it, I think I'm down to 45 minutes. I don't know how many pauses and breaks I have within the actual building portion, because what I cut out was all my stream like overlays. Like when I won't go on break, my starting screen, my ending screen, like I just cut all that out. It's still, about 45 minutes worth of content, and I have potentially a few last minute touch-ups, but I feel like I've already done them. I'm gonna open the game and verify today, because today, I'm gonna edit a bunch of things, build a bunch of things, last minute touch-ups on everything, but I think it's pretty much done. So a 45-minute video isn't too bad. I have a feeling it will probably end up being, if I don't add anything, probably around 40 minutes. I feel like I could cut around 5 minutes worth of content. But the issue with that is all of the stuff that I'm cutting out, it's like, oh, there's a 10-second break here. I'll just cut that out. Because even though 10 seconds sped up to, it'd be like, what, 2.5, somewhere in that sort of range. 2.5 seconds is not very long, but like I don't want to have that stuff taking up the time. Like, if I can cut out 5 minutes worth of really short breaks, that's still 5 minutes worth of stuff gone. It's just that editing in this software takes a lot longer. It's just so different, and I don't know if it will speed up like my editing ability, but we will see. I'm hoping it does. I really hope it does. I hope that when I get to maybe like a month's time or whatever, it's like so much easier. I nearly clicked my fingers because I was gonna say it like that, but Macy's currently asleep on the desk next to me. If you hear some little weird noises in the background, she is sometimes occasionally stretching, and because she has her butt on part of my keyboard, you can hear like the keyboard moving around. She's not clicking on anything, like not sitting in on any of the keys, but she's like resting on top of them, so it is kind of creaking and crinkling every time she moves. But look, I'm hoping the editing style will get better. It's definitely a steep learning curve. Something interesting and curious to kind of learn and figure out, but I feel like this whole process is definitely a lot easier, even though yes, it is a bit longer, because it's not freezing and freaking out on me. It's not malfunctioning. It doesn't cause issues. Like, yes, there is maybe a slight issue at the very beginning when I'm trying to put in 4-hour long footage, but I've said this before, that is probably hardware, not software issues. And it only pauses for like maybe a couple of minutes. Not even that. I would say a couple of seconds. Sorry, I don't know why I said minutes. Blender would freeze for at least a couple of minutes, but DaVinci is a little bit better. It's probably just hardware stuff at this point, but again, a couple of seconds, easy, done. I'll take a couple of seconds any day. And I also fixed my OBS, which I have been complaining about recently as well, because I was having encoding overload issues, but I changed one little setting and it's back to completely normal. So we are all good. But yeah, that's... What was I talking about? Wrote this list, editing... Anyway, so yeah, when it came to editing this particular build, I did a lot better with this one compared to the last one, because I didn't use different ways of speeding up the video. But maybe me cutting out all of the parts that are freezing and sped up, I probably should have done that a bit better, because there are some, and by some I mean quite a lot, of freezing going on in here. It could also just be like the video freezing on me for a second, but I think it's actually just in-game pausing. But if there's not, it's probably just the video pausing on me while I'm talking about it. But anyway, the build here, we can actually start talking about the build inspiration. So yeah, when I came up with this idea, as I said earlier, I was inspired by Honeybella and Celadon, and I kind of wanted to do like a little excavation site. And E is always such a difficult letter for me to come up with ideas, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without the CC. So if this is your first time ever listening to me ramble on one of these videos, I don't normally build with CC. CC is something that I don't really get to build with, and because I'm doing the Pokemon build series, where I'm absolutely not using CC at all, I wanted somewhere for me to be able to use CC, and it's this little series, this little challenge. And so yeah, I definitely lean into that that little challenge, that little I definitely lean into being able to use CC here, even though when I run this challenge there is no CC as a rule. So if you're definitely interested, make sure in July to basically January, make sure to check out either my Instagram and or my Discord, because they will have that's where I'll put it. I'm definitely thinking about more places to spread it, but I just don't know how to do that. I'm really struggling, but I've got a few months to kind of figure it out and think about it and chat with some people to ask them for some help with it. But anyway, the build, which is what I was trying to talk about to begin with. Inspired by Honeybella and Celadon, and I wanted it to have a specific feeling. I wasn't sure what that feeling was, but I wanted to lean into a specific kind of, a specific kind of dig site. So maybe a specific kind of area and whatnot. And what I ended up with was sort of like, maybe this used to be a marketplace, and like a marketplace in the middle of a town square or something like that, and it's all been since buried in the desert, and the first store that they've uncovered, or maybe the last one that they've uncovered, is this pottery store. And you can see at some point I don't know if I've already built it or not, but I build an underground section. Actually no, I have already built it. I can see it in the background there. But the underground bit is the actual kiln area where all of the pottery is sculpted and fired, I guess. And then the little store bit is out in the open. And I realized as I was editing this video yesterday, I had put a wooden structure there, but like the wooden structure wouldn't be standing. So I'm not really sure what or how or why it's like that, but maybe it would be standing. I don't know. So yeah, it's definitely, again, not entirely accurate, not entirely just not entirely accurate, I guess. So yeah, there's definitely some things in this build that are a bit questionable in terms of my building choices, but I'll be honest, I had no idea what I was doing, and I started getting a little bit overwhelmed, so I was like, you know what, let's just do some building, and then off stream you can come back, and if you want to change it around or fix it up or whatever, you can do that. Like, just be patient on yourself, work through it, and you'll get there. But I kind of never ended up coming back to finish it. There's definitely some spots where I could have added more clutter, but I was really unsure as to what to add. And so I was like, you know what, maybe they've only just started, or maybe like a section of it has been cleared out. And you know what, that's fine. I'm just gonna roll with it. So yeah, that's kind of what we end up with, and I'm not all too mad at it. I definitely cluttered a lot in this little tented area. So this, at the beginning I was talking about having a little area where maybe they uploading things like photos and stuff like that, and talking with experts and whatnot. So in this little tent, that's where these like desks are. I think some of them got computers and books, and maybe some experts actually are here working on it. We've also got this little kitchenette area. I made sure to add a lot of water because it is somewhere in the desert, so it's probably going to be a bit hot. But I added a lot of like jars and cans and stuff like that. I honestly, I don't know what you would add in a kitchen in the middle of a desert. I don't even think you would have a kitchen in the middle of the desert. You'd probably have to like go off site to be able to get that stuff. But you know, again, I'm not entirely accurate, so I again was just having some fun with it. But there was a little tent nearby that we were also working on a little bit before, and that is kind of like the authentication tent where they take items and authenticate them and whatnot. So there's that, and then there is also like a little sand pit looking area where maybe like they are going through that section and they're kind of digging up things in that little area. I do believe I put some maybe like pots or something in there, so maybe they're like digging them out and maybe reconstructing the area. So yeah, it was just kind of something fun and interesting and different to be able to do, something that I've not really ever done before, and I don't know if I'll ever try this again, but it definitely was something I thoroughly enjoyed. It seriously, there's just some things that you're like, this is such a random weird idea, but sure, let's go for it. Like, why not do something weird and random like this? And I'm happy with it. Like, I'm not mad with how it turned out. I made sure also to add a lot of bottles of water everywhere. They'd probably get really, really hot, but you know what? The fact that you're hydrating is probably more important than whether or not the water is hot or not. And there was also a bathroom here, like a kind of like a porta potty, but a bit fancier, a fancy porta potty. I don't know if that's even a thing. And there's also a little car parking space, so like, you know, you can drive in and out of the area. But I also did try and blend the area a bit better so that you couldn't really see how not deserty it was, I guess. So I put some really, really big rocks in over where the planters are off the lot, or at least block them on the lot by putting those big rocks there. And when you look around, it makes it look a bit more realistic to be in the desert. Whereas if you didn't have those rocks there, it would kind of look like, oh, well, this is like someone's backyard, or like this is a park, or like it didn't feel right to have it be shown, like those little garden beds shown. It just felt too urban, I guess, organized. I can't think of the right word, but basically too realistic. So yeah, you can see those garden beds there. I think I ended up putting some rocks over on that side as well, and it just makes me feel a bit better having those things there. And I don't know, it's just some random stuff like that, and it works, in my opinion. I think it works. I think having all of that stuff where they all are, it just makes it feel a bit more realistic to the idea I was kind of having. And this is the porta potty that I was talking about. Yeah, I tried to add lots of plants, but also making it very sparse, so it didn't feel like there was too much. Like, it's a desert, there's not going to be all that much stuff. Oh, big stretch Macy. She is still absolutely soaked to sleep. I think I just put the rock in, but I was not watching. I was looking at her. She is currently asleep on my desk, but the problem is she puts her butt on the left side of my keyboard and then stretches out to the left of my keyboard, but her head's on the edge, so when she falls asleep, sometimes it slips off, and she just sleeps like that with the head hanging off. So I gently lift her head and hold it in my hand until she wakes up, but I do end up with like marks on my hand from leaning on the edge of the desk, and a dead hand, and I'm trying to work only one-handed, and it's not easy. I don't know how many of you have only one hand or have to do something else with your other hand while working with one hand. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. sometimes you can tell that I am doing that when I'm building off stream, because I will be using all of the, instead of using hotkeys, I use like the buttons at the top. Sometimes I do it just because I don't want to, I don't know, sometimes I'm like playing with my lip or whatever, or my hair, or just using one hand, but most of the time it's because I'm holding her head up to make sure she doesn't have any damage. I get worried. Like, her head's just hanging off the desk there, and I don't know why you're doing that, Bob, and it makes me a little stressed. So I'm definitely gonna have to get a longer desk, or I'm gonna have to get her own desk, or I'm just gonna have to never have a keyboard ever again, because she is my priority and she needs to take up all the space. I think what I need is like a desk extender bit just for my keyboard to sit on, so that I can have my keyboard closer to me and she can just snooze across the desk. And then when I need to put the keyboard up, I don't keep the door open to the office overnight. I close it up so she is not in here, and yeah, that can just be chucked back on the desk and it'll be all good. But I don't really have one of those. I don't even know if that is a thing, but yeah, definitely something she loves to do. Yeah, by sitting on the desk, laying on the desk, and then freaking me out by letting her head drop off the edge. I'm like keeping an eye on her because she's done it a couple of times already just in this video, because she is definitely very nappy right now, and I have a feeling it's going to happen soon. But I always make sure it's always so slow as well. It's always so slow, like it just softly drops off, and it still freaks me out every time. But anyway, this part here where I am working with the wood, this is where the random wooden structure is, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't know what this is. If you are an archaeologist or somebody who knows how this stuff works, please let me know what on earth I'm doing, if I'm doing anything right or wrong, if you would have built this or not, because yeah, honestly, I don't know if this would actually still be existing and standing, or if being buried in the desert it would have fallen over. Maybe they restored it, I don't know, maybe that's something they've done, because I know sometimes some structures are kind of carefully dug out and restored, so maybe it's reinforced, or maybe they figured out what it used to look like and they rebuilt it, or maybe it's, you know, like they were building something to store all these pots in. I don't know. But definitely, again, if you're an archaeologist or if you work in or around archaeology or anything like that, anything related to that sort of field, definitely let me know down below what I've done right and wrong in this build. Definitely having this platform doesn't make sense. I think I was supposed to make it look like sand, but I don't know if I ever actually do that. But I also imagine if this is like an ancient civilization, maybe they would have had a, like, they would have built some sort of platform type thing, not just been on desert sands. Like, to me, it kind of makes sense that maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But like I said, yeah, if you know anything, please definitely let me know what I've done right or wrong. But yeah, like, I don't know what I'm doing half the time when it comes to building. And I've had people compliment my builds being like, wow, this is like either really accurate or really whatever, and I'm like, okay, I kind of made it up. I don't know what I'm doing. I've had people compare my builds to games I've never even heard of in my life, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm glad that I could have done that, but also I have no idea what I'm doing, so that's fantastic. So I guess I have these happy little accident builds, which I'm not too mad at. I'm okay with having these, like, yeah, happy accident builds where I end up accidentally building something that looks like something else, or yeah, whatever. But yeah, again, definitely let me know down below your thoughts, feelings, opinions, feedback on this build, especially if you do have knowledge in this area. I mean, you don't even necessarily have to be like an archaeologist or anything like that, but somebody who knows what they're talking about is definitely someone I would like to hear from. Um, because I do like being somewhat accurate in my builds. I mean, I can only think of right now off the top of my head one historical build, and that was the Library of Alexandria, which no one really knows what it actually looks like, so I just kind of had fun with it and kind of built it based on what I think it would look like, based on absolutely zero knowledge of the time, just based on what I wanted to do, honestly. And that was a build that Onion had. I asked Onion, like, if I could build anything in The Sims, what would you like to see me build? And that's what he came up with, and I was like, huh, okay, cool. You can definitely have that build. I'll build it for you. No idea what it would actually look like, but let's go for it. Like, let's build something cool and weird and interesting and fun. And I'm pretty sure I put a glass roof on it, and I'm not sure how easy, accurate, or realistic a glass roof in historical times that long ago would be. Again, not an expert. I have no idea about these things. I only know that the dishwasher was made in, I think, 1880, maybe 1886. So, clearly most people who get asked, when do you think a dishwasher was first created, like the very first dishwasher, most people say, 1950s. That's kind of the most common answer I've gotten, because every time I learnt the fact, and for a week or two I was asking everybody when they thought it was a thing. But that just goes to show, there are so many things that we think are not, wouldn't have existed at this time, versus things that we thought existed for a very long time but didn't. There are so many things that cross over in that sort of circle where, I know that for castle type builds, that baths definitely existed. Baths have existed for a very long time because they would heat up the water, bring the water to the bath and fill it up. How they unfilled it, not a clue, but they existed. So seeing baths in historical movies, shows, builds, things like that, it was a thing. It existed. It was real. So that's accurate. But things when did not just flushable toilets, but just toilets in general become a thing? When did showers become a thing? When was the first shower made? When was the first not handheld fan made? These are the things I'd like to know, and it's very curious to think about. And I've seen things there was a news article talking about how people are never going to be able to fly or be in the sky or whatever, and it was written a month or two after was it the Wright brothers, after their first flight. And it's there's so many things that we just get taught or think about that just blatantly aren't true. The fact that news article was saying, oh yeah, flight's not going to be a thing, it doesn't exist, but there'd already been the first ever flight, even though I don't think it lasted very long. Again, I'm not a historian, I don't know these things, but from memory, I don't think the flight lasted very long. But it still happened, it still existed. So yeah, anyway, that was a little bit of a random weird rant there. But yeah, with this part of the build here, the underground bit, so this was what I was talking about, having the kiln room, and I thought it would be a really fun idea to have all of these little pots in the corner as if they hadn't been painted yet, or maybe not been fired yet. So, they'd been clayed, molded, shaped, whatever terminology you use for clay making, but they'd been prepared and started but weren't ready for general sale yet, so they've been placed in the corner so that they can be worked on. And I don't know, I love these little details like that, and I love thinking of the people who work here. I can imagine maybe that this is a family business, and there is a father who works here, and or maybe a husband and wife team, or maybe a a person who hires people. I don't know, like there's a group of people who work here and make pottery and sell it, and maybe one day, you know, like someone of importance came along and bought a pot or a vase or something from here and was like, you know what, you're going to be my pot person, you're going to be my clay maker. And because of that, they became like really popular, and that's why this shop was able to survive. Or I don't know, there's so many different stories that you could come up with for these sorts of situations, and I love coming up with stories like this. You know, the last build I did was the dog hotel, and I was thinking about how, like, oh, it's super bougie, and the people who send their dogs here are like super rich, and you know, every dog who's there has their own dog walker and their own like specialized diet from a dietitian, and all this other, like, they have personalized care plans and stuff like that. So I don't know, I find having these really personalized ideas for the build and ideas for the people behind the build or the people who would be in this build, I find that to be really, really helpful. And I think that's what kind of got me lost in this build, was I was thinking of the people excavating the site, but I wasn't really thinking about the people who lived here before the site existed. You know, like the people who ran the pottery shop and who used to go to these stalls. I was thinking about adding a couple more stalls as well, but yeah, honestly, ran out of time, motivation, ideas, thoughts, and you know what, I'm not too mad. Like, I'm still pretty happy with how it turned out. I just think that, yeah, I definitely need to think more about how these builds exist and the people who would have used them at the time of their creation, or, you know, how they got to be where they are. I find a lot of those builds just, it's so much easier. Like, I'm already thinking about the future builds that I'm about to do or in the middle of doing. Like, for example, the W build, I don't want to spoil what it is, but I already have in mind who would be in that lot, in that build. I already have, like, people IRL I know, I feel like this would really suit them, and I'm just so excited to get in and get that build done, because it's like, the way I see it in my head, it's going to be gorgeous. It has to be. It's going to be. It must. It's a must. There's no other way around it. But it's going to be a very beautiful space. But that's all I'll say about it. I don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, like, it's, again, thinking about who's going to be using the lot, or who did used to have this lot or used to own it, or anything like that. Like, it's just, I love to think about these things. They are something that just makes so much sense to me and helps me be a better builder. So yeah, if you're ever struggling, definitely think about the people who would live in that lot, who would use that lot, like the history of that lot. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely keep that sort of stuff in mind, because it can be super helpful when you get stuck. And definitely gives your build a lot more personality. And I think that's, when I first started building, what I was really struggling with was personality. If you look at my first ever build, it was, I wouldn't say amazing, but it was amazing compared to what I came out with after that. And I think the reason why is because the stuff that I had built after that didn't have a personality, didn't have a person in mind, it didn't have anything like that. But what it did, that first build did have, was I had a family in mind who would actually use this build, who would be a part of it, and, you know, it just made so much sense in my head. That's why it ended up being a pretty decent build, if I don't mind saying so myself. So, you know, it's just have those people in there who make sense, and hopefully that can help you add more personality. But also have a look at things like roofing. Is your pitch too high? Is your build just a box? If it's a box, my one tip to that is add a second box. Seriously, that can change the entire look of that side of the build if you just add a little other box to it. And once you get comfortable doing that, you can kind of work your way through adding fun little shapes and things like that, and working with round rooms and working with diagonals and stuff like that, even though I'm not going to lie to you, diagonals are a pain. You do not want to work with them. I'm not going to lie to you guys, the most painful things on the planet. So if you can avoid them, definitely avoid them. The diagonals and the round rooms both, because they're both just a little bit painful. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind when you are building. And if you want to see any tips or tricks, definitely look out. There are so many people out there who've made tips and tricks videos. I was meant to make one last year, at the end of last year, but unfortunately life got in the way, and so I was unable to make that video. But there's definitely a bajillion tips or tricks out there that you could definitely have a look into. Also look into hotkeys, like using, I think it's Alt F, not Alt F4, just Alt F. Maybe Shift F, I don't know, I can't remember, but that gives you the quarter tile placement, and you can make some really fun floor patterns with that. And I think it's Control Shift C, either that's the cheat menu or Shift C. One of them gives you being able to have more control over the pitch of roofs, and let me tell you, that can be really, really handy when you want to create such a fun little different shaped roof. But there's just simple tips like that, but the thing I found helps me a lot is just work on one thing at a time. So at the moment, I don't really have anything in mind. Probably landscaping, I would say, is the one thing I definitely struggle with. But yeah, just take one tip at a time and apply it each time to your builds, and it should definitely be a lot more handy and helpful taking one thing at a time rather than trying to take every idea and tip on at a time. Learning how to control the game and make it yours is definitely something, it's so handy when you have an idea and you don't know how to execute it. If you can figure out how to make the game work for you instead of work against you, absolutely brilliant. Like, I'm still struggling with some of these things. Like, you could see at the start of this video, I was super struggling with that sort of stuff. But, you know, we are towards the end of the video, and I think I made it work pretty well for me. Yeah, I'm not entirely mad with how it turned out. There are some spaces that I feel are a little bit blank, like the part where the pottery store, like the outside bit, like the marketplace stall bit. I definitely could have added some more stuff out there, but you know, you live and you learn, and I like putting out my flaws. Like, I don't like having flaws, but I put them out there because I want people to see that, like, not every builder is perfect. We do make mistakes, we do things that don't make sense, and you know, it's not the end of the world. It's something that we all do. So yeah, I don't know. I hope you guys have enjoyed this build and my rambling. I've been pretty successful with my rambling today. I was worried, because this is one of the longest videos I've done in a while. I was worried about not being able to talk for the entire time, but I feel like I've done pretty well. I feel like I've rambled a good amount. So yeah, definitely let me know if you've enjoyed it. Actually, you can let me know by subscribing. That's a good way, or liking this video. So if you want to see more stuff like this or listen to me ramble more, definitely make sure to subscribe. I come out with a video every single day except the last 2 days of February. And yeah, this month is all CC, but if you want to see no CC builds, I'll be doing that for the rest of the year. So yeah, definitely make sure to subscribe and check all that fun stuff out. And yeah, I don't know, I'm really excited to see you guys in the next one. I'm gonna go edit that one now, but until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.